Hello, welcome live to Eurosport's coverage of the World Touring Car Championship. We're at Curitiba in Brazil for rounds 9 and 10 of 20 of this season. And for the first visit to Brazil, it is Curitiba-born Augusto Farfus who starts on pole position. The Brazilian quite impressive in qualifying, claiming pole ahead of 5 Seat Leons, led by Jordi Canet second, then Peter Terting and Gabriele Tarquini, Ricard Rydell and James Thompson. Andy Priaulx, the world champion, lines up 7th with Gianni Morbidelli in 8th place. Red lights are on, ready to go for 14 laps of Curitiba. Revs rise, and it's vital that the Seats get a good getaway with the BMW. Priaulx behind, James Thompson just in front of Andy Priaulx as they get away. But what about the pole sitter, Augusto Farfus? Can he take the lead here into the first corner? He's moving over to his right. David Leslie, the first sequence of corners is going to be absolutely crucial for him to try and take his second win of the season, his first ever at home.
He needs to get in there first. He managed that, made a very good start off pole position. That's what he needed to do, was get through this series of corners, but it's very, very tight in there somewhere.
On board with Ivan Muller, he was a long way down the order. This is Andy Priaulx's view. Here is Ivan Muller, and one of the white BMWs was knocked off there. I think that might perhaps have been Duncan Heisman or Jörg Muller, not sure which. Somebody bounced around the first corner. There's Tom Coronel right towards the back. He should have started 12th, but an engine change after practice meant he was dropped 10 positions on the grid down to 22nd. And look at this, the phalanx of Seats, 5 of them chasing the Alfa Romeo. Rydell inside Thompson. Couldn't quite get through there. They're still just ahead of Priaulx, but it is Farfus that leads. And Priaulx in trouble there. Now let's have a look. Who's that? That's the other Brazilian. That is Lucas Molo. And he is stuck on the side of the track. His car has given up in the first couple of corners. Safety car out on the first lap, David.
That's not good for that, and
that's probably the reason the safety car is out. Maurizio Cerasoli on the GR Asia car slammed into the wall off the start line.
He hasn't actually got to the start line itself before he's ended up there, but that's the safety car board out, and we've got that Alfa Romeo stuck at the first corner. This one stuck on the start and finish line here. The driver coming in now, I don't think is a major problem. The one obviously stuck right in the middle of the circuit is the real problem, and that's why the safety car's out. We can see them now, this long 1 kilometre straight, trying very desperately to keep the heat in the tyres. They've only just started the race, and what little heat's in there they need to try and keep or even build on it.
Well, of course, unlike the rain at Brands Hatch, the last time we had a major safety car incident, the restart won't feature ice cold tyres, and we probably won't see Farfus skating off into the gravel. It's strange for our race leader as he finds out why the safety car is out there. That really was desperately online, wasn't it? Right in the middle of a narrowest part of the track. Farfus has won karting races here and was runner-up in a Curitiba karting championship in his early career at the end of the 90s, but has never raced cars on the main circuit here at Curitiba, despite being born here. So bizarrely, he has no more local knowledge, apart from how to get here, where his house is, what the food's like, the money and everything else. Doesn't actually know the track any better than any other drivers. Now, that's a very bizarre kind of home race, isn't it, where you've never raced there before?
It is very bizarre indeed. That's where the independent Stefan Diasti, who's in, they've obviously got a bit of a problem. I think they're going to try and get that back out onto the circuit quickly in order not to lose a lap. If they can do that, that will get a quick repair and back out there.
Well, I wonder, maybe he picked up a puncture or something. Can't imagine why else the car would have been up in the air. But Stefano D'Asti, the Pro Team BMW, will rejoin right at the tail of the field. That's a little bit of a shame for him. He was 21st and he was 4th of the independents, but our pole sitter in the independents class should have been Tom Coronel, ended up being Ryan Sharp. 14th place, it became 13th place on the grid. He was second quickest in qualifying, ahead of the man who was his new teammate, beg your pardon, behind the man who's his new teammate, who is Fabrizio Giovanardi. Giovanardi not allowed to race as an independent. This is Nicola Larini getting sideways. Dirk Muller there, the 43 car, and Rob Huff off there. I tell you what, David, that was carnage, the first corner there, wasn't it?
That was not good for those guys. That we did realise that at the end of this big long straight after start, it was always going to be difficult. For getting all those cars around that chicane immediately after start was never ever going to work perfectly.
On board with Nicola Larini, and there is Alan Menu's car in. Now this car had to fly out by air freight because it was too badly wrecked at Oschersleben to go on the boat. So the RML, driving off with the hydraulic ram still down there and barely got the wheels down on the deck. So Dirk Muller ahead of Duncan Heisman, another of our new names. Those of you who didn't watch our qualifying program yesterday, where were you? The football was over by then. Duncan Heisman has taken the place in the BMW Italia Spain operation alongside Alex Zanardi. So Heisman not in car number 5, which was Marcel Costa's number, but 41. So we now have 41, 42 and 43 BMWs on board with Andy Prio, going down this 1 kilometre straight that is the main straight here, because this is actually part of a combined road course and oval circuit at Curitiba. It's not actually an oval as such, it's a kind of odd shape, but it is that sort of a track. So it is a sort of roval of sorts, and this long front straight, 1 kilometre long, that's this enormous 180-degree corner going into it, which must be the better part of half a kilometre in itself, which is pretty much flat out, means that it's an enormous straight line effect. It's really a course of 2 parts. The first 3 corners very bumpy, very tight, and there is another couple of hairpin corners or tight corners on the infield, but then 2 elements. This is the first straight on the oval part of it, if you like, and then they turn left off it here. The oval will normally continue on. There is our race leader, Augusto Farfus. Well, it looks like Lucas Morrow's car was sort of jammed, basically, because it's taken a while to move it, and maybe that's why it wouldn't go anywhere. It looks like it sort of selected a couple of gears, David. Does that often happen with a sequential box? I guess not.
No, a sequential box does not get 2 gears together at the same time, basically, but it certainly did look jammed, as though he had a problem with the gearbox. It looked as though he tried to move it, he sort of leapt forward and then sort of stopped and didn't really go anywhere. So they'll have had to drag it out of the way with the wheels locked, or lift it out of the way. But certainly all these circuits that have the World Touring Cars arriving at them have to show that they're able to shift stricken cars before they actually arrive here. It's all part and parcel of making sure that the championship runs extremely well. And we've seen there Augusto Farfus with his hand down, adjusting something down by the bottom of the gear lever. And I think that would be the valve for how much brakes go to the rear of the car, so he's probably altering the brakes back to front. But the lights are now out on the safety car, so when they get back round to the start, they'll be able to go again. So
he'll be adjusting that for this big braking into the first corner to take account of the fact that the tyres are a little bit colder. Will he want more braking on the front or more on the back, do you think?
I think he'll want more on the front, to be perfectly honest. He's slowing them all down around this big 180-degree corner. There he is in the middle. He's got the foot hard into it to try and give himself a break. He's managed to get that done, so he's given himself a little bit of a break there. But in second place, car number 9, and
Jordi Genet, he really allowed himself to be caught napping, didn't he? A battle on for third. Peter Terting ahead of Gabriele Tarquini. That's Tarquini pulling out there, and there's Prio, look, defending hard. Prio down the inside. He's got an Alfa Romeo coming down alongside him. Gianni Morbidelli got the move through. Augusto Farfus leads. We're behind Peter Terting with Gabriele Tarquini's onboard camera. Everybody safely through, but you can see about those bumps, particularly in the first right-left element, really chomping up and down the cars here. So it is Farfus that leads, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Seats, then the Alfa Romeo, then 3 BMWs. Prio ahead of Dirk Muller. Dirk Muller or Jörg Muller? Jörg Muller, I think it is. Prio ahead of Jörg Muller and Duncan Heisman on board with Prio. That was the Alfa that got by him. And then you can see the 2 BMWs behind. And it looks as though at the restart, did Ryan Sharp get ahead in the Independence Trophy? He was our top independent, but it looks as though he got ahead of his teammate Fabrizio Giovanardi, who makes his World Touring Car return, of course, currently racing in the British Championship for Vauxhall. I think he did, I think Ryan Sharp picked up a couple of places there at the restart.
And that's good for Ryan, because he ended up, because of Tom Cornell's problems, back on the pole for the independents, and he's very much looking to try and win some more of these independent races to try and close that gap on Tom Cornell in the championship.
So 4 of 14 laps completed, and Farfus with near second advantage over Jordi Genet. Another battle further back. Rydell defending hard against Morbidelli. It's trying to say Giovanardi, and he holds Morbidelli off. Morbidelli with Prio behind him, then Jörg Muller on board with Prio. So on to lap 5 of 16 laps now, with the safety car laps not counting. Welcome back to Curitiba in Brazil. And Jordi Genet leads after 12 laps of round 9 of the World Touring Car Championship. Peter Terting in second place, Augusto Farfus in third, Tarquini, Thompson and Rydell just defending his position there. The Alfa Romeo trying to get by Gianni Morbidelli. He's in 7th. Andy Priaulx still in this vital 8th place, but Priaulx under threat all the way through this race from Jörg Müller. Again, the second white BMW at the back of the queue, Jörg Müller, and Duncan Heisman right behind. Heisman, of course, Priaulx's teammate last year in Macau, but this year he's not running with the RBM team. He's running with Roberto Ravaglia's team, BMW Italia Spain. So he's taken over the entry that was driven by Marcel Costa. There is Priaulx, 8th place, and of course it's so vital, David, because that means pole position for race 2.
Yeah, Andy knows it because of the weight he's carrying, and he's very heavy indeed out there. He's 65 kilos. That he needs to finish in 8th place because he doesn't feel he can do any more in race 1 with the qualifying being so close, with 18 cars within a second of each other.
That's phenomenal, isn't it?
It really is. The closest, it's getting closer and closer as the season goes along, and he knows race of 2 halves. The first one, just get to 8th place if he can, finish in 8th place, puts him on pole position. He's got a good opportunity then to score a lot of points in the second race.
Now, for a man who has been singularly under-impressing all year, somebody appears to have lit the turbo afterburners under Jordi Genet. He came across the last time about 0.2 ahead of Peter Terting. Look at him now. That's got to be a second lead. He's really electrifying. And again, the tail gunner in the Seat Q, which is Ricard Rydell, just holding off Gianni Morbidelli in that second Alfa. And again, as you say, Priaulx right behind. Notice this yesterday. Look how big the rear view mirror is. We saw a couple of cars with additional extensions on a mirror that wide. I wonder if they thought in Brazil it was going to be a lot of close attacking from behind. Certainly Priaulx's not going to get caught napping, is he?
Certainly not. I've seen those mirrors before, but normally in 24-hour races, not in the sprint races of 16 laps like this one.
Well, maybe he's towing a caravan. I mean, he really is, isn't he? But an aggressive caravan that is definitely trying to loop past him in the form of Jörg Müller. Jörg Müller also with a good bit of weight on. He's got 60 kilos as well. Don't forget, of course, he had such a successful race weekend at Magny-Cours, and then big points as well when they were at Oschersleben in Germany. So Jörg and Andy very heavily laden, but the most heavily laden is Dirk Müller, and he's really paying for that, and so is Ivan Müller. So 2 of the 3 Müllers not having a very good time on board with Ivan, and he is really struggling. And that lever there in the middle of the cockpit I was talking about in qualifying, we have checked, and it really is a handbrake lever, because they're not allowed to have an electronic line lock as a handbrake. They have to have a manual handbrake, and that's how it is in the Seat Leon, just like the rally cars.
And the reason for the handbrake, by the way, is for getting the car off the start line. It's not they're going to use a handbrake to get it around a tight corner or anything like that. It's purely to try and help them off a start, but we'll try and explain that one to you a little bit later.
So on board in 3rd place there, 4th place I guess, with Gabriele Tarquini's bumper cam. That's Augusto Farfus Jr. in front of us. What a shame for him. We didn't see what happened to him, but you have to guess that it was somewhere in that first 3 corners. The first corner sequence, turn 1, 2 and 3. The S's de Baixa. Apologies to any Portuguese or Brazilian speakers, but that's sort of what it looks like. Climbing uphill here. It looks as though it's a fairly flat and featureless circuit from the air, but in fact there's a little ripple of a valley running through the middle of it, and they climb up and duck back down again through this infield section. On board with Priaulx again through this long left-hand kind of hairpin element. Then climbing up the hill. And then there's this sweeping fast left-right sequence again, dips down, comes back up a little bit, kind of a little bit reminiscent of Magny-Cours in those elements. You think about the Nürburgring chicane there and a couple of other elements. You dip down and come back up again. Certainly not as flat as Silverstone in any way, shape or form. And then the leader comes out this long, huge 180-degree corner and down the start-finish straight. And this must be absolutely flat chat with the things on full noise. And this is going to be an important moment for Jordi Jordi Genet. He really has underperformed compared to some of his teammates in the SEAT squad. He's been their main man because, of course, he is the Spanish driver for SEAT, but he's yet to win a race for them.
He really has been struggling of late. The last couple of races he's been running right at the back of the grid. We just don't know why he's been there, but whatever they've done, they've certainly made a difference to it. And it's certainly not a new car, because when the car's finished at the last race meeting, they're all put into containers and shipped out here. So now they're in Brazil. It's got to be the same car, but certainly something's changed. Whether it's attitude or not, I don't know, but he is up there. He's going very quick indeed. He is actually pulling away from the rest of them.
Ivan Muller all over the back of Duncan Heisman. Well, Heisman had a little look at Jörg Muller, couldn't get through, and he's been dropped back, and now here comes Ivan, but this is all out of the points. David, this is for 11th place, so it's kind of irrelevant, really.
It is, but you know, when you're in this race, you've got to race for every single position, because you never know. Somebody can fall out, somebody can have an accident on the last lap, whatever happens, and all of a sudden you can come out and take that extra place.
That little element there, that's fast left-right sequence, that is really quick, isn't it? And in qualifying here, we could see the cars actually sliding those rear wheels as well. The front-wheel drive cars steering with the tail through as he comes up to take the checkered flag under the team. First port of call is underneath his mechanics to give them a wave and punch the air with delight, and that has got to be a very major milestone for Jordi Genet and for the Spaniards in the SEAT squad. Jaime Puig, of course, the motorsporting director of SEAT, the man who won multiple Formula 2 World Championship rally titles, wants to win the World Touring Car title for the company, and he would be so pleased if Genet could get back into the frame.
And that's really good for SEAT, because as you look at them, you can see them here come around now. 5 of the first 6 cars were SEATs. The only one that wasn't was Augusto Farfus with the Alfa Romeo. That's him from inside there. He's a local guy playing at home, and he really did well at the beginning of the race. He was leading it, but something somewhere went wrong, and he lost a couple of places, and all of a sudden the SEATs never want to miss an opportunity right up there to take the place away from him. Well, it's great for Genet.
Yeah, absolutely. The problem for Farfus, of course, is it's not just one of them either, or not even 2 in the team. There was 5 of them queued up behind him, all waiting to have a go. So how he managed to only lose 2 places is probably a little bit of a mystery. So SEAT without a clean sweep of the podium here, but certainly victory for Jordi Genet, and that's very, very important for him. Equally important in terms of a result in the first race for Andy Priaulx, the world champion. 8th place will give him pole, but you have to feel a little for Augusto Farfus. He really was ganged up on by the 5 SEATs and just couldn't hold on to that lead in the Alfa. Big shame for him. That race win at home would have been really something to remember. Anyway, the field comes back in. It's an interesting little pit inroad inside the main part of the track. The main part of the track goes sweeping around the outside, and the pit lane is inside on driver's right. So a lap through the pits actually saves you time. This is the scene between the 2 races at Curitiba after Jordi Genet has won for SEAT. 5 SEATs in the top half dozen. Only pole sitter Augusto Farfus from Curitiba in his Alfa Romeo managing to stop SEAT swamping the top 5 places. And the 6th SEAT, Ivan Muller, out of the points. He has not added to his point score, and as a result he plummets down the championship order from the 2nd position with which he came here, 1 point behind Andy Priaulx. Our joint championship leaders after this race, James Thompson and Gabriele Tarquini, with Priaulx and Ricard Rydell tied in joint 3rd, 2 behind them. Ivan Muller in 5th place, another point adrift. Well, that is the result of the first race, and Ivan Muller in 13th place. That's where he'll start race 1, but Andy Priaulx with a chance to win his 5th race of the season. We'll be back. Welcome back live to Curitiba in Brazil with Andy Priaulx ready to start the midway point of the season. Race 10 of the championship, race 10 of 20 World Touring Car events this year in Brazil from pole position. 8th place in race 1 has given the Guernseyman the pole that he needed so much. There is Jordi Genet, the man who won race 1, and of course 8th to 1st, 1st to 8th, the top 8th reversed on the grid. Genet will happily take starting 8th every time out from now in race 2, if that means he can win race 1, David.
That's right. Winning the race means you get 10 points, and that makes a big difference. 10 for first, 8 for second, and then 6 and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 for the other places. So finishing first at any time is always a big points boost, and that's certainly been a good points boost for him as well. It's moved him up from 14 points to 24 points in the championship, and all of a sudden put him a little bit more in contention. So he'll be hoping that he's got rid of all those bad results he's had earlier in the year. Now he needs to score some good points at the rest of the meetings.
Well, you say he's only in 10th place. He's just moved up from 11th place, but he's only 12 points away from the joint leaders. That's one of the good things about this year's championship, is the points have been spread out so widely among the leading group. Nobody's got a big advantage. Our lead points pair, James Thompson and Gabriele Tarquini, just 2 ahead of Prio and Rydell. Another 1 behind Ivan Muller, 1 behind him Dirk Muller, 3 behind him Peter Terting, 1 behind him Jörg Muller and Augusto Farfus, and 4 behind them is Jordi Genet. So 12 points covering the top 10 drivers in the World Championship. That's a mighty impressive indication that the organisers have got a very good formula on their hands. Out of the points in race 1 was Alex Zanardi, though, unfortunately for him. Well, as we go inside the World Touring Car Championship, we follow Alex Zanardi at Oschersleben. And of course, this is the venue where he won his first World Touring Car race in 2005. Wet track getting drier. His team boss Roberto Ravaglia telling Alex there's a red flag. Somebody, he said, some guys are in the pits choosing slicks. Do you want to or not? 60 minutes, and yes, slicks for sure, says Alex as he dials in armfuls of opposite lock. Ravaglia running this BMW Italia Spain with former European Touring Car champion Umberto Grano. Ravaglia, of course, the former World Touring Car champion, and with slick tyres on, everybody trying desperately to get it all together in the closing stages. Alex 14th in qualifying. Sunday morning for the warm-up. It's dry at last, but he's not that happy. Very low grip, he says. Sliding a lot. In the fast chicane, when I go over the curbs, a massive oversteer. Okay, got that, they say. So, now is the last chance to get a good setup before the race. They have a few hours to work on the car. Well, I think that's succinctly summed it all up. A chance to catch up with the MotoGP as well, courtesy of Eurosport. Not the only bike fan, but certainly one of the most enthusiastic. And then time to get on with the job in hand. Sunday afternoon at race 1, and the goal is clear: to make up 6 places, to try and take 8th inside Ivan Muller. And that goes very badly. Umberto Grano says, well, you got to try a few things, but that didn't look like a impossible move. And Alex says, I disagree. When Ivan saw me going to the inside, he closed the door. He hit me before the corner. He really turned in on me. So race 2. Ivan Muller just stopping to gesticulate a little as he goes to his grid spot. Last on the grid, Alex, with no real chance of points from the weekend. And the race is another difficult one. He ends up crashing with Alain Menu's Chevrolet. 13th place, a long way from last year's race win. Changing fortunes of the World Touring Car Championship, something that everybody knows about. You can never stay on top for more than a moment or two. So, Andy Prio, 8th place in race 1. Can he add another win to the 3 he already has this season? Flagged away by Eduardo Freitas, our clerk of the course, as they head off on their green flag lap. A chance for us to take a quick commercial break before we get ready for round 10 of the World Touring Car Championship, live on Eurosport. Curitiba in Brazil, the cars on the warm-up lap ready for round 10 of the World Touring Car Championship. Martin Haven and David Leslie ready to call the action live on Eurosport as the World Touring Car Championship heads to Brazil for the first time after last year's excursions to Mexico and Macau. This year, Brazil, Mexico and Macau are the non-European flyaway races. With the man who came here, chasing points leader, Andy Priaulx by 1 point, Ivan Muller, 12th in race 1, didn't score many points, and he will start in that position on the race 2 grid, 13th place rather, on the race 2 grid. Andy Priaulx, 8th place in race 1, means he gets the snakes and ladders effect up to pole, and there is the man who was on pole for race 1, Augusto Farfus, just trying to keep some heat in the tyres. The resident of Curitiba, well, Priaulx leading Gianni Morbidelli to the grid. Morbidelli, the Alfa behind him, will pull out alongside David Leslie. Andy Priaulx having just a 2-point deficit to joint leaders James Thompson and Gabriele Tarquini after the first race, will obviously want to try and make the most of this, backing onto his grid spot now. Oops.
That was a mistake by Andy to go past his grid spot. I'm not sure whether he'll get any sort of penalty for that, but he's lined up in the right place at the start, and that's what really matters. So they'll now all be getting ready.
Well, I know of penalties for passing cars on the warm-up lap, making up a position from not starting off the green flag lag properly. I've never heard of anybody getting penalised for reversing onto their grid spot, but then I've never seen that before. Green flag waves to the tail of the field. Everybody has made it round safely. Res rise, red light will come on. Everybody's on the limiter, holding them on the handbrake, and away they go. Very good getaway again from the BMWs. That suspension squats down and allows the car to launch off the line ahead of the Seats and the Alfa Romeos behind him. Morbidelli, Rydell, Thompson, Tarquini, Farfus, Terting, Genet, all front-wheel drive cars right behind Andy Priaulx, and he leads into the first corner as one of the Seats has got by Gianni Morbidelli. Now, was it Thompson or Rydell? We'll have to wait and see. Rydell is in front of Augusto Farfus, who's up to 5th already. Good start from Farfus. He started, of course, in 6th position on board with Ivan Muller. But Priaulx must govern this race from the front. And look, there's Muller behind. Muller, that's Ivan Muller behind the 41 car. Duncan Eisman, in fact, pushing him along.
He really was squeezing him off to the inside there, and Duncan Heisman really holding up Ivan Muller really badly. He'll be very upset about that indeed.
Oh, is that Ryan Sharp? No, it's not. It's one of our BMW privateers into the back of Tom Coronel. It was Luca Rangoni into the back of Tom Coronel. Ryan Sharp won the Independence Trophy, incidentally, in the first race in his Honda Accord Euro R, and finished in front of his illustrious teammate for the weekend, Fabrizio Giovanardi, who had a bit of a clash in the middle stages of the race in his Sport Honda. So Ryan Sharp now second in the Independence Trophy, and who would have thought that at the midway stage of the season for a man who'd never raced with a roof on his head before. Priaulx runs out wide, and David, despite all of those kilos of success ballast, he must hope that he stays away as Thompson is chased by Morbidelli. Look at the queue there, streaming down the straight. Morbidelli goes out wide. Thompson shakes his nose at him, but Morbidelli's around the outside. Can Thompson hold on under braking? He does.
And that's really showing you the straight line speed of these cars. The Alfa Romeo, we've always said, has got very good power, and even on this long straight, and even with the flat bottom that's on the bottom of the Seat cars, the Alfa Romeo still very quick in a straight line. BMW still struggling a little bit. You've got Andy at the front because he finished 8th in the first race, but behind that, unfortunately, the next BMW is a long way behind. But Rydell will not be wanting to sit there in 4th place. He'll really want to be past Morbidelli, and right behind Rydell, of course, you can see there was Augusto Farfus as well.
Well, Andy Priaulx doing what he needs to do, and vitally for him, the battling going on behind Thompson and Morbidelli. And here Ivan Muller stuck down in 12th, right behind Duncan Heisman still, and that's going to be a very tough car to pass. Heisman with only 20 kilos of waste of ballast. Is that Emmett O'Brien?
And Asti, yes.
So Emmett O'Brien's 33. No, that's the other. Oh, there's Emmett just sneaking around the outside of that one. So Emmett O'Brien just got around the outside of that incident with his teammate Diego Romanini and Stefano D'Aste. And that is the battle for second. Every single one of those cars, right down to Ivan Muller, is in the train for second. Prio is going away. Thompson fends off Morbidelli. Again, Morbidelli trying to come around the outside. Rydell slotting in front of Farfus. And then the other two Seats, Jordi Jannet 7th, Gabriele Tarquini 8th, and Peter Terting 9th, ahead of Alex Zanardi. Alex Zanardi pulling alongside Peter Terting and squeezing him. The white BMW's got the inside line, squeezes past, and look at that as well. Tarquini goes past. That was a good move by Tarquini to get ahead of Terting as Zanardi opened the door for him.
That's what happens here, because it's so close. If somebody goes through on the inside, whoever's behind will try and follow through, and that's exactly what happened there. And Tarquini took advantage of Zanardi going through.
Morbidelli's got by. Morbidelli has got by for the race lead.
No, second place.
I beg your pardon, for second place. Yes, our timing screen says Tom Coronel leads the race overall at the moment, which I know isn't quite right. It is still, oh, look at this, Rydell inside Thompson. Now, is this like Brands Hatch, where Tomo's car just seemed to get slower and slower through the race weekend, because Morbidelli's gone by and Rydell's looking for a piece of Thompson as well. Thompson with Tarquini, our joint championship leader after round 9, coming into this round 10. And here comes Rydell, and here comes Farfus as well in the middle, on board with Farfus. Wow, there are cars absolutely everywhere down this kilometre-long front stretch.
And it was always going to be at the end of this straight where most of the overtaking is going to happen, because of that 1 kilometre straight, and they're all going to slipstream each other. And look at them, every one of them behind Andy Prio. They are nose to tail. And Andy has a little bit of a breathing space because he can concentrate on his own driving. All the rest are not concentrating on their own driving, but also concentrating on the guy behind them, and that's what's slowing them down a little bit.
Is that Ryan Sharp? It is. He's been hit from behind.
He's been hit very hard from behind.
He has.
Back of that car.
That's Luca Rangoni's car, and right behind us looks like Alan Menure. Is it Rob Huff going through? Rob Huff, car number 6. He goes by. Well, the important thing for Ryan Sharp is exactly what Tom Coronel is doing. Concentrate on not getting punted off. Oh, and that's Rydell. Rickard Rydell in the barriers. Well, the cameras picked him up as he was going backwards through that section. On board with Farfus. What happened there? That's where Rydell got hooked up. He was trying to come inside Augusto Farfus. Farfus had a little move, hadn't he, and just lost it in the wobble in front, trying to go past James Thompson.
And Farfus was trying to come back to the inside. It was that move back to the inside that caught Tarquini and caught Rydell and turned him around.
Huge clouds of tyre smoke coming onto the long straight. Prio leading, Morbidelli and Thompson behind, and look at all this lot. It's just like a knife fight. And that BMW working his way up is Alex Zanardi. Look at this! Oh my goodness! The number 9 is Hodi Kane, knocked off
by Heisman, number 41, just straight in there, and he's turning into real carnage. Look at the Chevrolets now coming up through. They've all been knocking each other off, and the Chevrolets are just saying, "Thank you very much, I'll take a piece of that."
And Ryan Sharp, no, that's not Ryan Sharp. That again,
number 30. That's Rangoni with BMW.
Really getting in there with his sleeves rolled up. I tell you what, the steward's office is going to be a busy place after this. Sharp gets knocked off again, and Coronel was going inside him, riding again with Augusto Farfus behind Rob Huff in the Chevrolet. Now, that shouldn't be happening, but Farfus has lost his splitter, and that is going to mean that he will be desperately struggling, particularly in that fast corner that leads onto the straight, David, that long, half a kilometre long, 180-degree corner.
He really will be struggling in all the corners, having no front end, no bumper and splitter on there, and that will make a big difference to him. But you see now they've got themselves sorted out, and they're just trying to work out who's next up, because you've got
it's the other Alpha, isn't it? That is his third teammate, Salvatore Tavano, because, or is it Morbidelli? Of course, Morbidelli's disappeared. No, Morbidelli's still there in second place.
Zanardi's up to 4th.
Yeah, Zanardi's 4th. We saw him going through all that confusion. Tarquini and Terting tailing each other. Here they come just into the right corner of the screen, but look at all the action further back. Tarquini and Terting, then Heisman, Ivan Muller, Jörg Muller, Salvatore Tavano, Rob Huff, stuff. I mean, it's just this constantly change. It is like a 125cc motorcycle race, except with more aggressive riding. It is complete change of order every time they come down the line.
And the second Chevrolet's Alan Menu. Behind him is Heisman. There you are, pulling out to have a look. Two Alfa Romeos right behind that.
Well, that was Luca Rangoni again having a look there to try and work his way up the order, and Rangoni desperate to try and make it up in the Independence Trophy. Rangoni is currently the Independence leader. Tom Coronel's got by Ryan Sharp. Ryan Sharp was stuck right in the middle of that huge scrabbling bunch of cars and just got shoulder charged out a couple of times, and Tom Coronel sneaked by him as well. He doesn't need to worry about Rangoni in the points at the moment, but he might do if he drops any further back. Well, there is Morbidelli, somehow managed to keep his car relatively clean and scrape-free, which is some testament to his ability to avoid trouble. James Thompson there as well, still yellow flags at the final corner. But nobody's going to pass at the beginning of the straight, it's all going to be at the end. Safety car is out. Now then, that somehow I think may play into the hands of Alex Zanardi, because he will now be right up with the lead bunch, and suddenly it's all going to break out again. While the safety car's out, we will take a quick commercial break. 7 of the 14 laps completed. Laps under the safety car don't count, so no matter how many laps the safety car is out for, we will have 7 more racing laps after we go green. Stay with us, live from Curitiba in Brazil. Safety car conditions here as they get the green flag now with 7 laps to complete here at Curitiba. Andy Prio leads the charge through the first couple of corners once more. Gianni Morbidelli, and right behind, that's Rob Huff having a go inside Jörg Muller. Jörg Muller, car number 12, and Huff is still inside him, going by. Tom Coronel lines up again. Jörg Muller having a really tough time, David Leslie.
Yeah, this is Ivan Muller.
Oh, sorry, Ivan Muller is what I meant to say in the Seat, yes. Tom Coronel goes through, Ryan Sharp goes through. Look at the dent in the door that Sharp had from somebody, and Emmett O'Brien trying to go through as well, and Heisman behind him. So O'Brien got ahead of Duncan Heisman's car away from the restart. Good starting, Emmett. And Ivan Muller, all of that weight really making his car struggle, but in fact he's got 55 kilos compared to 65 of Andy Prio. So the Frenchman is a little bit at sea here.
He certainly is struggling this weekend, although we've not seen him struggle before at all. He's always been there or thereabouts, had a good opportunity. But this battle now is still raging on. Andy Prio, a little bit of a gap. He didn't have a fantastic amount of speed and lap times. He had a good cushion he managed to build up. He's lost that cushion now because of the restart. Morbidelli is still there. Now what's happened is Zanardi really is pushing Thompson very, very hard indeed. Now I reckon that the next change will be Zanardi going past Thompson. Here we can see the battle now coming into the first corner.
Tomo's got the inside line. Zanardi got the draft around the outside. A man who's won the Champ Car Series doesn't learn about restarts and drafts by accident. He knows exactly how to make the best use of both, and as we ride on board with Gabriele Tarquini's bumper cam in 5th there for a moment, you could see the rear of Tomo's Leon. That means the Seats are being edged down the order. BMW and Alfa Romeo really taking the battle in race 2 here to the Spanish machinery, because right behind Peter Terting there is Jörg Muller, who has been almost unheard of so far. And then Coronel and Sharp, the top 2 in the Independence Trophy, 11th and 12th ahead of Ivan Muller. But still, with so many Seats starting each race, David Leslie, it's really hard to break through all of them. There's Augusto Farfus. We saw him he'd lost his air dam. Curitiba, not the homecoming he was hoping for, I don't think. And unfortunately, last night, of course, Brazil going out to France as well after he'd taken pole. What a roller coaster evening his family must have had.
Yeah, everything was good and then everything wasn't so good. But that's what motorsport does to you, unfortunately. You've got good times and bad times. And we can see from the results that, you know, constantly changing. That's why the points are so close, and why this championship, World Touring Car Championship, is so close. And you watch the cars now, even after 9 laps of racing, it is still nose to tail.
Oh, somebody's had a big collision there. Somebody has spun out of the final corner, and lot of debris in the middle of the circuit. Oh, that's huge. It's a BMW. Well, I would think that might be Luca Rangoni. I think it's Rangoni.
That's got to be a safety
No, it's not.
car.
No. It's Emmett O'Brien. Oh, ran out wide into the tyres, and that's where all the debris came from. Ripped the wheels off the left-hand side of the car. Oh, Emmett, what a shame. And he looks like that really rung his bell as well, David.
I think he's hurt his thumb. Quite often what happens, you get your thumb round the inside of the steering wheel. If it snaps it round, it looks as though it did. He's probably pulled his thumb quite hard and will be quite sore.
It's also knocked the wind out of him, hasn't he? Don't forget, he was doing, 140 miles an hour comfortably there, and suddenly he was doing it backwards and like a spinning top. And Emmett, mate, get across the track a little quicker than that. They are on their way round at full race pace. Zanardi shaping up to make this a BMW 1-2. Look at the way he's chasing Morbidelli. Morbidelli's all over Prio. Zanardi's right with him. They'll get to the yellow flags before... No, they won't. Yes, they will.
Flags
this
are
is the final
out.
corner. This is the final corner. Yellow flags are out. They'll get the safety car boards now. Prio backs it right down. But Zanardi was shaping up for a move there, wasn't he? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Somebody is going to come steaming round here. I'm not sure they saw the flags early enough around the circuit. That's a very dangerous position because it is completely blind as they come around that final corner.
And the big problem also they've got there is they're coming around, there's a lot of debris on the circuit. You need to keep away from that debris. The last thing you want to do is pick up something sharp, and there's lots of bits fell off that car, an awful lot of bits fell off the car. You really don't want to puncture because you've run over somebody's debris.
Well, the important thing for the Vickers Sport team is that Emmett O'Brien is safe, and you're right about debut. Prio did seem to be training a little bit of something. Wonder whether that is something he's picked up. But the safety car picks him up again. We'll take another quick commercial break and come back hopefully for green flag racing once more in Curitiba in this dramatic mid-term race here. Round 10 of the World Touring Car Championship live on Eurosport. Welcome back live as the safety car leads the train down through the pit lane in the World Touring Car Championship. And David Leslie, that presumably to avoid them having to run through debris on the circuit left from the crash that brought out the safety car, that of Emmett O'Brien. Seeing it there in replay, throwing a lot of rubbish across the circuit. Emmett here on the outside, just drifting out too wide, couldn't hold it. And look at that. Ripped the car apart, absolutely tore it to pieces. And his car now being dragged. Well, we said they'd have to lift it because it wouldn't be dragged, but they are dragging it out of the way. But that's why they're going down the pit lane, to allow the track to be swept, to get the debris, to avoid it going into the tyres of these cars for safety reasons.
That's right. They had to get the whole thing cleared as quickly as possible, because the rest of these laps behind the safety car will count towards the race. What happens is the first 2 laps behind the safety car do not count. After that, the rest of them do. And we found that by discovering it in the regulations, and it was regulation number 151.
So David Leslie, never a man without his rule book, and there you saw it. That's exactly why the rule books are important, because you need to know these sorts of things. So from 14 laps, the race can go to a maximum of 16, no matter how long the safety car period is, and we're now 12 of what will be 16 laps. And there is Lucas Mollo's Alfa Romeo at the end, so he's actually running, which is something more than he managed in the first race. His car was stranded in the first corner on lap 1, but unfortunately Maurizio Cerasoli's car was stranded in the pit wall before he even got to the start line in lap 1, and Cerasoli unable to restart race 2. It's a lot of work for the GR Asia crew for absolutely no reward there.
Maybe a lot of work for anybody with the damaged cars, because these cars are not coming back to Britain. They're going straight to
Yeah, they're going straight
Mexico.
to Puebla in Mexico, aren't they? That's right.
Yeah.
They're being freighted to Mexico.
And they're still taking them back in through pits. That's the reason they've got to rebuild the tyre wall.
Yeah, and there's a lot of work in there.
It's a real
Absolutely.
big safety factor. You cannot have the cars going around and somebody falling off at exactly the same place, not having the safety in place. So rather than going through where the people are working and where all the debris is until it's all put up, they're taking them in through the pit lane and back out the other side. We were really worried, because as we were coming back live on air, we heard they were in the pit lane. We were worried that they'd stopped the race or something like that. And we've a very quick decision by somebody in the race steward's office, or the safety car driver, I'm not sure who, but they said take them in through the pits, and that'll get rid, and that'll make it safe for everybody else out there on the circuit. We can see 4 rows of tyres there, that really high-speed part of the circuit. and it had a big belt on the front as well.
Yep.
But even going at the speed that Emmett O'Brien went in, nothing was going to sort of stop it from tearing that lot apart, and that's what happened there.
Absolutely right. Now then, we have completed 13 of 16 laps, the possible maximum race distance, and you saw them desperately trying to force the tyre stacks back inside that conveyor belting that holds them all in place around the outside, and that's to try and rebuild some sort of safety into the wall. Now, we've only got about another 7 or 8 minutes if they sit behind the safety car, and there is Emmett O'Brien. I'll tell you what, I think he will feel, yeah, he is, isn't he?
He is very shaken indeed, sitting down there.
Physically unharmed, but that was one high-speed accident. There it is again in replay. Bang, he hit the wall there. I don't know what the telemetry was telling about speed there, but he must have been doing around 130 miles an hour as he hits the wall, and that's why all those tyres are there, because the other option would have been concrete, and most of these cars, as Emmett's are left-hand drive, and that would have been, well, the concrete would have been into where the transmission tunnel is, and a very different result from an accident like that. There is Lucas Mollo's car dragging its nose. I'm afraid as soon as he gets up to speed, that will part company. We saw it with Augusto Farfus's car, and I'm sure that it won't be much more different with Mollo's. And I have a feeling, David, as we get towards the end of lap 14, that we may well finish this race under the safety car.
There's a possibility they will desperately try and get everything up and running again, even if it's only a one-lap shootout for the very last lap to get it out there. But the Lucas are putting those tyres back and just leaving them there rather than having them tidy with a belt across the front as it was when the race started. The Lucas are going to try and do everything possible just to get the cars racing again before the end, rather than get to the end underneath the safety car.
Well, we may well have that one-lap dash for cash, and we will know as they head into the pit lane this time. Lights are out on the safety car. Now, it will pull into the pit road down that short pit lane entry that we've seen. That's the pit lane entry, and they're getting ready to go green again. Ready to go, green flag racing with 2 to go at Curitiba. Andy Prio gets the jump once more on the field. Alex Zanardi cannot pass for second place until they get to the start line, and Zanardi was not quite close enough behind Gianni Morbidelli, still without a year of development. The N Technology Alfa Romeos have got mighty motors on board further back with Tarquini's car, and there, look at that, the Chevrolet really starting to work very well for Alain Menu now in light fuel form. Or is it Rob Huff? It's Rob Huff, yes.
Rob Huff,
picked
then
up
Alpha,
a place.
then Menu as well, then Tom Cornell, then Ryan Sharp.
Well, that's a major moment for Rob Huff, out dragging and passing Salvatore Tavano's Alfa Romeo in a straight line. That may be a first, certainly in dry conditions. Of course, Chevrolet recording their first race win at Brands Hatch in the rain, courtesy of Alain Menu. And Huff's pulling away, and he's latching onto the tail of the cars in front of him as Prio continues to try and pull away. 14 laps completed, 16-lap race distance, so 1 to go after this. And Alex Zanardi already in a podium position, but can the Italian make it up into second place at the demise of his compatriot, the expense of his compatriot Gianni Morbidelli in the Alfa?
And Zanardi really has been on form all weekend. He was going well in free practice. Unfortunately, he went off at the beginning of qualifying and ended up last. Had he started the first race in last place, came all the way through, and then started again for the second race and got himself up into a podium position. That car, had it been able to start where he was capable of qualifying, would have been on the podium for sure on both races.
Yeah, from 25th to 10th in the first race, and now he's making his move for second. Gianni Morbidelli guarding the insiders. Tarquini, Thompson, Turting. Well, that's Turting and Tarquini battling behind. Zanardi doesn't go through, but the BMW's lost a place. Jörg Muller's run wide. Rob Huff up into 7th place now. Look at the debris there, though. What's that? I tell you what that is. That's Lucas Mollo's Alfa has shed its nose. That's what that is. And they're all running through it on the last lap, desperately trying to weave. And Jörg Muller trying to hold off Salvatore Tavano, goes across the nose of the German. Tavano runs wide. Here comes Menu. Menu gets past Jörg Muller. And right behind the Independence Trophy battle, Ryan Sharp all over the back of Tom Coronel in the Seat, the orange and black Seat of Tom Coronel. Jörg Müller trying to make up a place, but Prio still leading them halfway round this final lap. Morbidelli still hanging on to his best result of the season ahead of Alex Zanardi. Whichever way this ends for Zanardi and Morbidelli, it's going to be a great race result from both of them. Fourth place on his own, James Thompson, the man who was our championship leader after 9 races, but Prio will take that back after 10 because he is heading to victory.
One more lap, I think, to go.
Well, let's have a look.
Yep, one more lap to go.
Lap 16 of 16 now. Here we go, last lap. All right, let's count that back one more time then. So, last chance now for Zanardi to go by Morbidelli into turn 1. Oh, that's
Chevrolet.
Which one of the Chevrolets? Is it Huff? Is it Menu? Is it Larini?
What are they going to do when they get back to the end of this lap? Because when they get to the end of this lap, they should. Why is somebody running across the circuit in the middle
trying
of
to rescue
race?
The debris, I know.
But on the last corner is where that incident is. Now, they've really got to have all the flags out.
It's Menu.
Menu walking across, and that's still in a dangerous position. That's where you come out of. That's where you should be flat out. He did exactly the same.
Hit Emma O'Brien's hole.
To where the hole was.
And that was that Ryan Sharp. Let's have a look.
No, it wasn't. It was
Giovanardi. It was Sharp. Ryan Sharp. You just saw Coronel going through there. As Menu did exactly what Emmett O'Brien had done 4 or 5 laps earlier and just ran wide, a little bit of marbles underneath him in that final corner. Now last lap, and they're being slowed, are they? Yes, Prio slowing right down. Yellow flags are out.
Sure, that all yellow flags should be waving. Everything should be waving, saying no overtaking, nothing. It's a dangerous situation, whole station until you get through a race stop through a red flag.
It's the last lap, yellow flag is irrelevant, it's a red flag, so the race is stopped. Count back to the previous lap then as the full race result to make sure that all the drivers slow right down to absolute crawling pace, and you can imagine furious radio traffic between the drivers and the teams on the pit wall there going, what's going on, what's going on? A big crash on the final corner, be careful, and then the red flags are out, and the teams will have seen them at the same time as the drivers. So then, well, the last lap showed Andy Prio ahead of Gianni Morbidelli, Alex Zanardi, James Thompson 4th, Tarquini 5th, Terting 6th, all in Seats, Huff 7th, Tavano 8th, Jörg Müller 9th, Tom Coronel 10th, Ryan Sharp 11th and 2nd in the Independence, Ivan Müller 12th, Jordi Genet 13th, Dirk Müller in 14th place, but it is win number 4 of the season, and Roberto Ravaglia and Umberto Grano, the BMW Italia Spain outfit, very happy with that. Well, one race on from Oschersleben where they'd hoped to repeat Alex Zanardi's win and didn't quite manage to do so. They had a very troubled qualifying period after Zanardi dumped it in the gravel out of the pit lane and was not allowed to continue in the qualifying session, having brought out the red flags. 25th to 10th in race 1 was a remarkable achievement, and then to go from 10th to 3rd place, very impressive racing indeed from Alex Zanardi. You see, that's one of the things that really endears a driver to a team. You give him half a chance, you slave like a dog to get the car right, and he rewards you with a performance like that. 25th in the first race to 3rd in the second. That's a hell of a result. Alamenu, well, they slaved like a dog to, well, like dogs back at RML, to build him a brand new car for this race weekend, and he was doing them no end of proud justice for that as well until that penultimate lap shunt. But Rob Huff in the points in 7th place for Chevrolet. That's something that they might not have expected after qualifying. Andy Prio then wins for the 4th time this season. When he won the European Touring Car Championship in 2004, he won 5 times in 20 starts. Last year, winning the World Touring Car Championship, he won once in 20 starts. He's now won 4 of 10 so far this season. And he heads back to the pit lane, and we will catch up with our top 3 in just a moment. But Prio, with his 4th race win, will once more creep back up to the top of the points as he puts the car on the grass to pick up a little bit more weight. We'll be back with live wrap-up from Brazil in a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back live to Brazil with the results of a dramatic 10th round in the World Touring Car Championship, being that Andy Priaulx wins race number 4 of the season, and there are a number of teams with a lot of mechanical work to do before they ship the cars from here, Curitiba in Brazil, and off to to Puebla in Mexico for rounds 11 and 12 of the championship. Andy Priaulx and Tom Coronel, the two drivers you can see there. Coronel in the orange and black, the GR Asia driver who won the Independence Trophy in race 10 of the championship. Narrowly ahead of Ryan Sharp, and Fabio Ravioli there, the World Touring Car press officer. Our good friend Fabio, the man who's been writing the Touring Car yearbook for many years. And they're going inside. We'll hopefully not only see them on the podium, but also hear from them, our top 3 after a dramatic 10th race in the championship. And David Leslie, very, very impressive, an important points garnering operation from Andy Priaulx. 8th in the first race, vital for pole in race 2, and he converted it into the win. But perhaps the star of the weekend is Alex Zanardi, 25th, as you pointed out, in the grid for race 1 after messing up qualifying, and there he is on the podium for race 2.
I think it's just absolutely fantastic. He said the car was good all weekend. Unfortunately, he made a mistake on the first lap of qualifying, put it in the gravel trap, and that meant he had to start last. But there we are, Independence 11th and 12th, Tom Cornell and Ryan Sharp first and second there. Those two are now having quite a good battle for the Independence Championship. Tom's got a bit of a lead, he's got some extra points beginning of the year. Ryan now getting into his strength. But 13th there, Ivan Muller. Now he came here with 33 points and hasn't scored a single point this weekend. That's not good for him. But behind him was a guy who won the first race, Jordi Genet.
Andy Priaulx, what a strange end to a race. Is it one of the strangest of your career?
It was a long race. There were so many safety cars, and the circuit is very, very fast with very little runoff, so I expected a lot of stoppages, and it was a tough race.
You started 8th and won the race like you did already in Manicourt. Is it really a strategy you work out and prepared?
Well, all the top 12 to top 15 cars are the same speed, and with 65 kilos it makes it very difficult to win, so I need to use the reverse grid to help me.
Now you're leading the championship alone, as Ivan Muller didn't score any point this weekend. Thompson is 3 points behind you. What do you think about it?
Wait for Macau, last race. The weight will decide who wins the championship, and hopefully we can do the business. But can I just say hi to my kids at home, Daniela, Seb, Joe, miss you guys loads. Hi everyone. Well done.
Thank you.
Well, that's the downside, of course, of flyaway races. You get to go to exciting places and thrash the opposition. The downside is that you miss the kids while you're away, and his wife Jo, of course, at home with the kids. Gerntemann wins again, but what about Tomo, second place?
Gianni Morbidelli, your first podium of the season. I guess you're a very happy man now.
Absolutely, it's fantastic. You know, the result is it's fantastic for me, for the team. I really enjoyed this race, and it's a pleasure to be in the top again. And I'm very thankful to the team for the work, because they did a really good job, and all the mechanics especially. But thanks a lot to Mauro Sips as well for this big opportunity. It's really nice for me to come back here and to be in the top again.
Can you explain us why the Alfa Romeo was so quick this weekend here in Curitiba?
Yeah, this is a very fast circuit. We have a very good engine, and this probably is it's why we were so fast in this track. We hope to have again a track like this, and to be again in this position.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ciao Daniela, un bacione.
James Thompson, of course, second in points, but Gianni Morbidelli second in the race. A very good effort from him and from Alfa Romeo. Tavano scored his first points for Alfa, and Augusto Farfus, of course, on pole. So it was a track with a lot of quick corners. Now then, here is our third place man, Alex Zanardi.
Alessandro Zanardi, first podium of the season for you. How do you feel?
Well, I'm very happy, of course, because to come from last, 26 on the grid, to finish on the podium, it's I mean, if somebody would have told me yesterday, I would have asked him what he had sniffed, because it's unbelievable. But of course, I have to give a great thanks to my team, BMW Italy Spain, because they gave me a great car, and it's such a pity that I threw it in the sand yesterday, so I had to start last.
You've overtaken so many drivers. Why haven't you overtaken Gianni Morbidelli for second place?
Well, Gianni did an excellent job. Of course, there was very little laps left to go, and I didn't want to throw everything away. I'd done such a good race. Gianni was going for the inside. I was trying to push him to brake late, to induce him in making a mistake. But I mean, he kept control of the car. He drove beautifully, so I think he deserved to finish second. If the race would have been not longer, but at least with less safety car, I think I could have got him. But it's good anyway.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Yeah, I think Zanardi summed it up there. After the disappointment of qualifying yesterday, even points would have been more than they might have hoped for. A great weekend from Alex Zanardi. And here's the way the championship looks at the halfway point. So half term for the drivers, lasts at least until they get to Mexico. Prio leads by 3 from Tomo, 1 ahead of Tarquini. Rydell in 4th, Ivan and Dirk Muller 5th and 6th, tied with Peter Terting. Dirk is. Jörg Muller in 8th, Augusto Farfus 9th, Horikine in 10th place. Now 20 points cover the top 10 drivers, not the 12 that there were coming in here. So more point scorers, and still spread around the same top 10 drivers as they shuffle about. Tom Coronel leads the Independence Trophy. Ryan Sharp finishes the first half of the season in 2nd place. Heading to the podium, Alex Zanardi and the rest of them in the Manufacturers Championship. It's down to 1 point now between Seat and BMW from 3 coming in here, and Alfa Romeo with a little bit more success this weekend, just squeaking back away ahead of Chevrolet. 2 very close battles there between the manufacturers. But David Leslie, again, we see nothing but the same top 10 just sort of moving. It's almost like, you know, milk in a cup of tea, isn't it? It's just mixing around in a cloud, and every single race throws somebody else to the top of the pile, and they all just shuffle around a little bit.
It is, and seeing so many people up there scoring points, scoring good points as well, like Alex has suddenly got some really good points this weekend on the podium in 3rd place. And Andy, we were saying about him how he works that position between being 8th in one race and 1st in the next one. He managed a 1st and no points the first race, an 8th and 1st in the second meeting. Brands Hatch was bad for him. He had 2 8th place because he fell off while leading. In Germany, he had a 1st and no points, and then he comes here, he has an 8th and 10 points. And it's seesawing all the time. You've got to work the system you have in order to try and earn the points for the championship as a whole, rather than just for one particular meeting.
Well, there he is. Of course, you have the best chance of winning if you're on pole position, and that is what he has proved this year. When he's been on pole, he's won. Unlike, except at Brands Hatch, where he was 8th in race 1, pole in race 2. And again, that's like back at Silverstone last year. Britain has not been good to him. Silverstone, he was leading comfortably. Puncture cost him the race. Brands Hatch, it was a driver's error. Tom Coronel, yet again, of course, on top of the podium as our top independent. So Alex Zanardi 3rd, Gianni Morbidelli 2nd, Andy Prio on the top step. And the Independence Trophy winner again will be Tom Coronel, but Ryan Sharp, I'm sure he wouldn't possibly have dared hope that at the midway stage of his first ever touring car season he'd be 2nd in the points race, but that's exactly where he lies. He is just getting better and better. Now his qualifying is really starting to pick up a pace as well. It's not just he's making up for a disappointing qualifying with good racing. Now he's giving himself every chance off the grid as well. So Andy Prio then gets the top prize for race 2. Next they move on to slightly better known territory, Puebla in Mexico, but of course last year again, David, it produced some very close racing again, a lot of medium speed corners, some tight and twisty stuff, and it produced a whole load of new winners, among them of course suddenly reigniting his championship challenge in the Alfa Romeo was the man who now races in the British Touring Car Championship, but who is guesting back in the series for the Yas Motorsport team in place of Pierre-Yves Courtals. And Fabrizio Giovanardi, I'm not sure if he is going to Mexico, but if he was, he'd certainly be hoping to race well there like he did last year. Of course, Mexico last year we saw the Seat Peter Terting win as well.
That's right, that was a big thing, was the Seat with Peter Terting winning, but Giovanni will not be in Mexico because he has a clashing event in the British Touring Car Championship. So it's just a one-off race for him here this weekend, and maybe not gone quite as well as he had hoped. He certainly felt the car was very good, he just didn't seem to be able to get the best out of it.
Well, I think perhaps he was a little bit unused to how many people were elbowing him out of the way after 6 months in the British Touring Car Championship, where there's only 3 or 4 of them consistently having a go. So Andy Priaulx then, our race winner. Tom Coronel humming his own national anthem. Perhaps they don't need an English national anthem in Brazil, since the English never win anything here in terms of football or anything else. So the British national anthem ringing out for Andy Priaulx, the Guernseyman, winner of round 10 of the World Touring Car Championship. And for now, as they head to Puebla in Mexico, it'll be back to home for most of the drivers. The cars will be shipped up to Mexico, and the crews will return in a couple of weeks' time to prepare them for rounds 11 and 12 of the championship. Then it's back to Europe, Brno in the Czech Republic in the beginning of September, then to Istanbul in Turkey, Valencia in Spain will be the last European round, and then we'll go to Macau, and only then will we have even the faintest idea of who is likely or even possibly going to win the World Touring Car Championship for 2006. So that is it, our podium men for race 10 of the championship. So Andy Priaulx came here as the championship leader, tied with Ivan Muller after the races in Oschersleben. Now he leads, and Ivan Muller is 11 points behind him, having not scored. So Andy Priaulx steps ahead of Muller, but he's been chased by Thompson, Tarquini, Rydell and the rest of them. Not sure if you can see something in that mat, but we certainly can't. But there you are, there is the Union flag on the top step of the podium, and we'll give it a try again with the graphic, just in case there was something interesting in there. Gianni Morbidelli, Alex Zanardi finishing second and third. Guys, give it up. It's a lost cause. Oh, that's a shame. Everything else had gone so nicely so far through the program. Well, I hope you've enjoyed racing from Brazil live on Eurosport. That will do it then for rounds 9 and 10 of the World Touring Car Championship, the race of Brazil. Andy Priaulx coming out on top in the race, in race 10 at least, and in the Drivers' Championship. From David Leslie and from me, Martin Haven, until we meet again in 3 weeks' time, ready for the races at Puebla in Mexico. For the meanwhile, it's bye for now. Bye-bye. So next time out, Puebla in Mexico. Andy Priaulx heads into the second part of the World Touring Car season with the championship lead. England might have crashed out of the World Cup yesterday, but still British hopes are flying high in the World Touring Car Championship as Priaulx heads into the second half of the year with the series lead.